Welcome to Inspirage Unscripted. Today we're going to be talking to Shane Goodwin, one of our leading enterprise cloud PLM architects. My name is Mike Torek. I manage the global PLM and product master data management team here at Inspirage, and I'm going to let Shane introduce himself before we get into some questions here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shane Goodwin. As Mike said, I'm a lead architect in the cloud practice, and I manage our Oracle PLM practice to implement product development and the other quality and other product management solutions that Oracle offers. I have over 20 years of practice in product management and product lifecycle management with the Oracle series of products.
Okay, thank you, Shane. So great introduction. Maybe you could spend a moment or two telling us what you and your peers do here at Inspirage relative to adopting Oracle Cloud and really adding and realizing additional value using that as a platform.
Sure. So we work with the customer to see what their challenges are in using their current systems, whether it's an actual PLM system or paper or however they're doing things. Most of them have some versions of Excel to keep track of their product data. And we work through how their product data gets created and then transitioned into its usage in their organization. And the reason I say it that way is, the product data that we're creating in PLM goes into the ERP system and into the customer experience system. And it's very important that we're building it out in a way that makes sense to those downstream systems and makes them efficient.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking about one solution in particular, and we call that the Inspirage ingredient recipe management solution. But as with that, there have been many other cases where, again, we're taking the platform that is known as Oracle Cloud Product Management and extending it into other areas that either suit industries or suit clients' needs. So maybe could you give a couple of examples of some other solutions prior to digging into this one a little bit more deeply?
Sure. I mean, we worked with a customer that makes water, and they were actually using Agile PLM, but the way they were using it was to feed their manufacturing lines. And because of how they were having to feed their manufacturing lines, they wound up creating hundreds and hundreds of change orders in Agile PLM to feed the line bills of material in Oracle manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And so we worked with them in that specific situation to bring the data from Agile into Oracle Cloud to work on it without change orders so that they could still feed Oracle manufacturing and continue to have the change control they wanted, but not have to go through the actual change process of releasing all these ECOs and revisions on items just to update line bills of material with things they had already really authorized to be used. Mm-hmm. So those are the types of things we're looking for as we're implementing the cloud, is to find where there's inefficiencies and extra work that's really unnecessary. Mm-hmm. To take your product data and make it usable in your ERP as well as your other downstream systems.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So in terms of showcasing or speaking about ingredient recipe management in a little more depth, could you tell us why that was needed and what was the, I'll say lack of capability or maybe lack of depth in that capability that clients really needed that lent itself to our developing this?
So with the recipe management solution, the customer had their product data in one location. Mm-hmm. So they had the information that was necessary for, lower level recipe ingredients, mm-hmm. Along with their nutritional information, but they didn't really have a way of keeping track of every bit of it and then doing a roll up and creation of an FDA label. So what was done for them was to extend the data model so that it included all of the components that they needed, all the attributes they needed to do the recipe roll up. And then to actually get all of that out in a BOM structure and roll all the information up and compare it even against the specs so that you'd be able to say, if it's above a certain percentage, I actually need to report it. So make sure that all that's included. And then to use the Oracle technology of BI Publisher to get a picture perfect label that matches the exact requirements of the FDA to put on your product. Mm-hmm. So for them, there were several pieces to this. Number one, having control over their product data and a system that allows them to attribute to the extent that they need for all of the ingredient potential that you could have for the FDA reporting. and then doing the roll-ups and the picture-perfect label. And so the combination of all of that led to something that was unique that they couldn't get out of other solutions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you see that partnership with Oracle and Inspirage being relevant and important to developing solutions like this?
Yeah, great question. I think for us, it means that as we're coming up with solutions, we can work with the Oracle team to ensure that we're aligning to where they're going with their product. So if Oracle was going to have something that would come out for label management, maybe this is something we would recommend the customer to hold off on for however long that might be, if it's 6 months to a year. Or if, let's say, they're changing out some of the BI publisher technology, we want to make sure that we're aware of where Oracle is going. So we're not putting in a solution that's only valid for 6 to 12 months as Oracle continues to improve their system.
Mm-hmm.
And again, working with Oracle, we can also help them understand how the customers are using the product and improve the efficiency of how Oracle has designed the product to meet the customer challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of feedback. They can help us make sure that we're doing the right things for the customer, and we're also working with them to show them how customers are using their software, and then they can take that and make the whole system better for all their customers.
Okay, great. So we're clearly not going to be able to demonstrate this solution on, this in this Unscripted or in this forum. But if you were to describe ingredient recipe management to a prospective client or a current client, what features and or capabilities would you think we'd want to focus on and make sure that clients understood the most?
Sure. And this recipe solution that we're talking about, we've now deployed at 2 different customers.
Mm-hmm.
The first one actually runs a bakery, and they didn't require the label side of this, but what they were interested in is having red line control over the attribution and the roll-up of the attribution for all the ingredient percentages. And what was important to them is that they could then compare it to the government regulations that they're trying to accomplish. So for that first customer, they could come out and say, yes or no, this has a percentage of local country sourced ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
It has different types of allergy information that we need to tag on our product. It actually rolls up to the correct weights that we're telling our customers our product is going to come out and weigh 500 grams of bread or whatever that is that they're looking for to tell their customers about their product. And for them, it was really important that as they're making changes to lower level ingredients, so I'm getting a different supplier for my wheat,
Mm-hmm.
for my flour, that when I bring that new ingredient in, I can roll up the information, see it as a change order, and confirm that nothing is changing that's going to impact what I'm telling my customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same thing applies to the use case,
Mm-hmm.
where if they're going to swap out gelatin or whatever else is a component of their product,
Mm-hmm.
they want to make sure that they're bringing in the breakdown of that ingredient, roll it up, and ensure that they're not, for example, taking sugar beyond a certain level that's going to be accepted in one of their 100 different countries that they're shipping their products to.
Mm-hmm.
So for these customers, this is a really complex problem where the food roll-ups are used to comply to government regulations, and they want to put them under change control and ensure that when they're changing their products, they're not violating some of the things they're either telling governments around the world or that they're telling their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Their end consumers, really.
Right. In addition to some of the solutions that are under development, could you maybe speak to some of the others that have been developed and implemented or in use in the field?
Sure. So one of the ones that we've used historically with Agile PLM is the approval matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times customers have very specific requirements that match multiple variables, I would say, coming in from either the change order itself or the items that are on the change order, and they want to route changes to specific groups or people based on, product line or department or whatever else they have on their changes and items.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a solution that allows us to do the approval matrix. We have other customers that are using security propagation.
Mm-hmm.
So when I want a supplier to get access to a bill of material or a bill of material structure, I want to take that supplier and move and copy them to every item that's a member of that bill of material.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, something that we worked with Oracle historically to make sure they had the feature that would allow us to do that. And then we actually go through and execute that at a customer in an implementation. And there's many, many more that we've done. We're working on another solution around project management, really project reporting management. We're not trying to build something that's like a replacement for the Oracle Projects tool, but there's some other things that need to be used by a customer, like just some ability to keep track of what projects are out there and who's working on it, what are my milestones. That's not really deep project management, but it is sort of a project tracking type of tool.
So, maybe my last question is, what would you like to leave the listeners with relevant to the topics that we've talked about and our innovation and our history of success with the Oracle Cloud Platform?
Great. Thank you. That's a great question. I'm going to answer a little different question than you asked.
Good. That's fair as well, right?
So I think a lot of the feedback we get from customers is Oracle Cloud ready to replace my Agile PLM system, or is it ready to compete in the market? And I think from what we've seen with customers, it is. We want, as we're going to cloud, to do these business process reinventions. We want to take the practice that you're doing in your current PLM system, whatever it is,
right,
and improve upon it and make it so that your new system solves business problems that you're having today and doesn't reintroduce them for you going forward. And certainly the Oracle Cloud gives us that opportunity, especially, if you are then using the rest of cloud, or you need to do product hub, and do, data syndication across different entities in the world, different, consumer databases.
Right.
The Oracle system gives us dramatically better data models to work with than Agile ever did. Right. And so I think what we're seeing is that today there is a want for our customers to fix their business problems that they're having in the current system. And the move to Oracle Cloud does give us a big opportunity to do that.
Right. I think that's a great answer, right? I think it's not let's replicate what you have, but let's look at what the platform affords you to do better and or differently, and even more integratively to other enterprise processes. So I think that's a really good answer.
Great.
Okay, excellent, Shane. Well, thank you very much for your insights. We appreciate the detailed, responses to our questions and the time you spent with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and I hope we talk to you guys soon.